Hey, everybody. Hope you're having a nice day. It's just turned into a generally frustrating kind of day for me. Not like terrible. It wasn't awful, but like just a lot of frustration. Carolyn, unfortunately, isn't feeling well and won't be joining us this evening as a mod in the chat. She did wish that she could be here. I got permission from her to share that with everybody, but yeah, some things are just. What's my head canon that happened to Ace between Survival and the TV movie? I'm not that kind of head canon person. Generally, if I do head canon, it's going to be to cover, it's going to be to connect to existing dots, not to come up with an entire separate bit of canon. That's just not really. It's not really how my head works. Love to Carolyn. Thank you. I will pass that along. I think she'll appreciate it. That is not something I needed to know, Ms. Wicked Wolf, because I'm old enough to remember when that happened. So, if you could not, that actually be great. Also had a rough day. Had my first Twitter argument about racism. Nothing productive ever comes from arguing on Twitter. I mean, it doesn't. I try not to do it. I hit it sometimes. I end up doing that. But, I really try not to. Thoughts on Ashad returning for the Centenary special? Okay. I don't know what to feel about any of the specific things that were in that trailer, because a number of them as individual elements, I'm like, ooh, but like my biggest criticism of Chibnall from his last lengthy stretch was from Flex, and everything was freaking overstuffed to hell. And so I'm just seeing the sheer amount of things that we've gotten teased, and knowing how many plot threads there are still to wrap up, and we haven't seen Joe Martin show up in this material. Like I'm nervous. Like in a vacuum, the idea of bringing back Ashad, I am down with, because he's a great concept and a creepy character and had a lot more potential than was used. But like cramming one more thing into that special, I don't know. I really don't. Just checking, can we freely talk about Doctor Who spoilers? I'm gonna say yes, but that's partially because like there's almost nothing to spoil in the latest special, like unless you're worried about being spoiled on the story itself. Like, but it has almost nothing substantive happen. I mean, I think it's far more spoilery to talk about the trailer. I think plenty of people saw that, but we rewatched Warriors of the Deep yesterday. Let's say another issue with Gypsy Devils. Why ditch the flippers? Oh, I forgot about the flippers. I heard Kevin Conroy was gay. The Batman animated series Batman. Oh, is he? I was unaware. I mean, cool. That's fine. Thoughts on Nissa and Tegan officially being a couple? Is that official? Did I miss that? Where was that confirmed? I missed something. Have I seen Smiling Friends? I don't think so, just because I don't know what it is. I asked Ari the trailer, but most people know by now. Yeah. Excluding the two already confirmed, what classic companions would you most like to see return? Not necessarily in the Centenary, but in any future story. if they're ever going to pull the trigger on bringing back Susan, which I'm a little skeptical on, they need to do it soon because they should have the same actress reprise the role. Romana would be the other big one, I suppose. I mean, I'm not saying they should actually do this. But if they really wanted to pull some nonsense, they could bring Adric back as a villain. I'm hydrating with lemon raspberry crystal light, fortified by vodka. Very refreshing. That sounds delightful. Hope you're not mad at what I said about your Will Smith video. I don't remember right now. Black Cover 95, so probably best not to bring it up again. If you're asking what I'm drained about today, like, definitely not that, because I don't even remember what you said. Supreme Omega, thank you very much for the super chat. Hope you're well. Question, is all of 90s comics bad? I know you have your criticisms, but there is good stuff. For me, the 90s is a golden age of DC legacy heroes. No, not all of 90s comics are bad. Like, I had a podcast for a while called 90s Comics Retrial, where I just went through my own collection of 90s comics, which is very Marvel heavy. Not a lot of DC stuff, but I just went through it, and I'm like, okay, is this actually good? Now, most of the stuff that's bad in the 90s are bad in incredibly 90s ways. Is there still some good stuff? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I will stand by and defend stuff like The Max, Spider-Man 2099. Heck, first dozen issues or so of Spawn I'll defend. Like, there's good stuff that happened in the 90s. There was just, the major trends were, they were so bad. Oh, my goodness. Michael Anderson Doyle, thank you for renewing on the membership. Much appreciated. I listened to your Babylon 5 podcast today. I hope you're enjoying that. Question, have you ever heard of the Spider-Man villain called the Wolf Spider, who's an insane murder version of Peter Parker? Sorry for the misspell. Only heard it spoken. No, not familiar with that one. But I mean, given how many clones the guy has, I don't suppose it's that surprising. I was wondering when that was going to come up. The fact that Ezra Miller got arrested again today. Oh my gosh. So, the fact that they got arrested this soon, like, they haven't even cleared up the last bunch of stuff that happened. And they get arrested again for assault this time. They threw a chair and it hit somebody in the head. Warner Brothers has got to be scrambling right now, trying to figure out what to do with The Flash. Because with the merger with Discovery now finalized, this is actually a point in time where major management and the top brass at Warner Brothers might actually change, be forced out, or new people brought in. And things going this badly would be a reason to do so. So the people who are there currently, if they are at all interested in keeping their jobs, they are probably doing a ton of brain calculus trying to figure out, like, look, we have no good options. It's very clear now that they're not going to stop getting in trouble, or at least that is significantly less likely than it ever was previously. But in addition to that, like, the other option is to do massive reshoots on The Flash, which is super expensive, and that looks really bad too. So they don't have good options. And as I said in the video before, this is not me expressing sympathy. Screw them. But John Vinyls, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Imagine if a modern remake of Aliens, Ripley and Vasquez were a couple. I mean, maybe. I personally don't think Ripley benefited from a romantic story at all. I'd just scrap it. But that's me and scrapping scrapping romantic stories in most cases anyway. So, yay. Has a protagonist actor ever been replaced post-shooting? I'm not sure. Protagonist actors have been replaced mid-shooting. Like the very first Back to the Future didn't have Michael J. Fox in it. They started shooting with another actor whose name suddenly escapes me. And they were several weeks into filming when they realized this just is not working. And they brought in Michael J. Fox very suddenly. But that filming wasn't done when that happened. Similarly with Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings, that was originally another actor, and they did a couple of weeks of shooting, and they realized this isn't working, and we cast too young. So they brought in Viggo Mortensen to be Aragorn very last minute. So I can't think of a time when a movie was done and the lead was reshot. Supporting characters sometimes, like somebody mentioned in the chat, All the Money in the World, or Army of the Dead. Like that can happen with a supporting character, but the lead, reshooting the lead afterwards, like that's not really a thing so far as I know. Because at that point, like, and the other thing is, all right, actually, let me back up. If, and this is big if the movie and the studio if the movie is so good, and the studio has so much faith that like it's such a good movie, it's such a good story, it's so well directed, everything else is falling into place, it's like such a good movie, that might nudge them towards something maybe as drastic as recasting the lead. However, if they don't have that degree of confidence in the finished product, then it's a sunk cost issue, which is that they will ultimately be better off releasing it as is rather than spending a ton of more money on it than they already have. And keep in mind, they have more expenses coming up. The marketing machine hasn't really geared up on this yet. And now at this point, even if Ezra Miller manages to stay out of trouble, they're not going to be able to start dropping teaser trailers for months at this point, because they need to wait for this to lapse out of the news cycle. Paddington was revoiced when they decided Colin Firth's voice didn't work and brought in Ben Whishaw. Voice work is really a different thing, though. I mean, Shrek was almost finished with Chris Farley when they brought in Mike Myers. Like, voice work is a different thing because you don't have to redo all of the animation from scratch. Maybe redo a little lip sync, depending on how you do that. But question, if it was extreme enough, do you think they can make a movie to take, do you think, oh, hold on, let me try this again. If it was extreme enough, do you think they'd can the movie and take the financial hit and avoid the bad PR, like if they murdered someone? Oh, okay, if we're going fully hypothetical here, if the lead actor of a movie. I'm not gonna say specifically Ezra Miller in this case, because then it feels like I'm speculating about what they may or may not do in the future, and I don't want to go there. But let's just like talk in a vacuum. If a major tentpole film, an expensive film, is due to come out in about a year, and the lead is arrested for murder, yes, they'd probably have to shelve it. Now, depending on the nature of the movie, they might come back and try to revive it in a different form, or, dump it to streaming in 5 years. But yeah, they'd probably, they being the studio in this case, they'd probably put the movie on ice for something like that. Excuse me. John Vinyls, thank you again for the super chat. How was it that Warner Brothers had completely fallen apart since 2013? Well, okay. A confluence of things. Warner Brothers did a couple of miscalculations. Well, I mean, you could go back further than that. Warner Brothers really started having a lot of trouble roundabout initially when they merged with AOL back in the early 2000s. But you know what? Let's skip over that. You want to say around 2013 or on. So initially, it was the gradual restructuring of their plans for films. They did what felt like a very safe bet. And what probably on paper made a lot of sense, which was their biggest money makers were these big tentpole films. Tentpole films. And they made the decision like, okay, we're going to stop with this mid-budget stuff. We're going to stop with 30, 40, 50, 60, $70 million movies. We're not doing that anymore. We're only doing movies with $100 million plus budgets. And we're only going to engage with franchises that are doing well for us. So at the time they made that decision, they basically said flat out, the only things we are going to make are DC superhero films, Lego movie films, because the Lego movie had just come out and they had a bunch of sequels planned, and things related to Harry Potter, because at that point the formal franchise had finished the actual adaptations of the books, but they were planning the Fantastic Beasts movies. What happened then was all three of those stumbled. Now, artistically, I feel very comfortable in saying that the Lego movie franchise has done the best out of those, but financially, only the first one was a real true runaway success. Ninjago did okay. Lego Batman did decent, but then Lego Movie 2 underperformed. And Warner Brothers realized it's not that this is unprofitable, but we were expecting more of this than we're going to get. And then DC, that started all imploding initially because they put so much faith in Zack Snyder, whose vision was, let's go with divisive. And then, all the mess with Justice League. And there clearly wasn't a very good plan in place. And then everything Harry Potter related. Well, you had the initial problem that the first two Fantastic Beasts movies aren't very good. And the second one's worse than the first one, but neither of them are very good. They weren't whipping up the fervor that Warner Brothers wanted. And that's even before we get into the problems of her royal turfness. So that's initially what caused the problem. What went wrong after that was that AT&T bought Warner Brothers. And that was a disaster for Warner Brothers. Most of the worst decisions made in the last 4 years are a direct result of the AT&T buyout, either because of directives that came down from AT&T or as things that were done because they were believed that they would better placate AT&T. AT&T gutted DC Comics. It's a shell now. They put all of this massive pressure onto HBO Max, which led to some decisions related to that, which really bit them in the butt. Like, I do think ultimately that the merger with Discovery is going to be better for, it is going to be better for Warner Brothers than being owned by AT&T was. I do believe that. That said, mergers tend to bring restructures, and they tend to bring changing of the guard. So things are going to be rocky and shaky and turbulent for a while before they hopefully settle down. Brogan, you'll forgive me. There are lots and lots and lots of resources in lots of places detailing what Ms. Rowling has said. I'm not going to go over it here, and I would prefer it not to become a big topic in the chat. So there are lots of resources, some particularly good videos. Jimmy Dodger made a very good video back in June of 2020 when, sort of the essay that confirmed everyone's worst fears came out. And there's ones done by Just Gender. I've done multiple. There are resources that you can look to. So I would ask to not have it turn into the subject of the chat, which I see it's doing anyway. And yeah. Gozer, I'm going to apologize that you're having to deal with this many people. Then again, this just has kind of been the vibe of the day. Anyways, all right. Thank you very much from Lil Steve Vert. Or Vert? Vert? I don't know. Lil Steve. Hey there, hope you're doing well. Ezra Miller once again got arrested today. Yep, saw that. Do you think this is the final nail in the coffin for The Flash? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because like the situation's getting worse, but I don't know if it's going to get as bad as it would need to get for them to either fully shelve the project or reshoot the whole dang thing. Warner Brothers is not going to bring Ezra Miller back anytime soon, if ever. Like that's a done deal. That ship sailed. When you spoke to Jason Hagellery, did it bother you that he made the "we want to hire the best people" argument when you asked him about representation? Initially it did, but that was also part of why we had the supplementary thing in that interview where I talked to him later and he explained some things about demographics in the UK, which I had never taken into account before, and it's helpful for me to know. Supreme Omega, thank you again. I always wondered why in the 90s DC focused so much on legacy heroes like Wally, Kyle, Tim Drake, Stargirl, etc. Was it all about chasing new trends? I don't think it was. I think what it was almost kind of a natural extension of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, because the initial idea behind doing Crisis on Infinite Earths was to simplify and streamline things. So another way to do that, after you've simplified you got rid of the multiverse and theoretically simplified timelines, is to have the mantle of major heroes taken on by younger characters who don't carry as much baggage, at least as that hero, so that readers at the time could feel like they were properly engaged with a more complete run of a hero, as they got to see, Wally become the Flash, or Tim Drake become Robin. It could feel like theirs. And not that I think that this was in DC's mind, but not in a way dissimilar from how certain people have their Doctor in Doctor Who. I think that was part of the general mentality behind why they did it. And I'm actually really annoyed that DC has backpedaled, erased, or otherwise ignored a lot of its legacy characters. Basically because Jeff Johns doesn't like Legacies, which is stupid. Legacies was one of the things that actually separated DC from Marvel. Marvel didn't really do legacy characters. They've got a handful. DC used to have a lot, and there's a lot of unique storytelling potential that eventually along the way they just decided, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Have you heard of the podcast Sardonicast? I have not. I have. I do not even have the time for the podcast I do listen to. Okay. For Fury. Okay. Furkio. Something like that. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for the super chat. I have no questions or comments. I just like to hear you talk and butcher your name, apparently. So, there you go. Favorite pizza topic? Sorry, I thought you could do with a lighter question. Favorite pizza is mood dependent. Go-to lately has been broccoli, onion, garlic, and tomato. A small pizza, because I'll eat the whole thing. My favorite candy, I don't really have a definite favorite. Who do you think the next actor or actress will be besides Tennant or Alexander to take on the role of the Doctor in the 14th season of Doctor Who? I have no idea. I'm not a good person to ask casting questions about. I'm bad at it. Do you think that in Thor: Love and Thunder, Jane Foster's cancer will be caused by her body having been inhabited by the ether? They might do that. I'd rather they didn't, because, cancer just happens. It's a thing. It doesn't need a mystical explanation, but we'll see. John Vinyls, thank you again for the super chat. I appreciate that immensely. Honestly, it's amazing how much Rowling has torpedoed all the goodwill she ever had. People really loved Harry Potter in 2015. Now it's like it's forgotten. And now it will likely be forgotten forever in 50 years. It's hard to tell. There are a frustratingly large number of people who really just want to put their head in the sand. And, if you want to put your head in the sand insofar as, just not engaging with it at all, like the fandom, the work, whatever, that's one thing. But, I'm not going to name names on this, but, for instance, my partner Liz, she's a school librarian. And at librarian conferences, she's seen and talked with librarians who still have these massive displays up for Harry Potter in their school libraries. And they're like, oh, but the kids love it. I'm like, the kids will love something else if you give them something else. There are other options. So, while the love of Harry Potter is certainly nowhere near as universal as it once was, and I do feel in general it's declining, partly because of the turf stuff, but also partly because the Fantastic Beasts movies have been crap. So I can't imagine that helps. But and here's the thing, I've said before, and I will stand by this. It's okay for individuals to continue to cling on to this. If it means something to you, if it enhances your life to keep it around in the form of the movies, the books, your merchandise, whatever, fine. That's fine. It's honestly fine. But I get really frustrated with things like parents and teachers continuing to push it as something that, for their kids or their students, because that's you promoting it to a whole new generation who, frankly, deserves better. So, if it matters to you, that's fine. But stop promoting it and stop trying to get other people to support it. Just please. Hey, Angus, thank you so much for the super chat. Thoughts on the Sea Devils? Seem to use a lot of practical animatronics as opposed to CGI. Well, obviously the whole suit was a practical suit. The funny thing is, though, when I went back and like double checked something when I was editing the review, I actually don't think they had animatronics like for the neck movements. Looking at it more closely, I think they just used like Photoshop effects to like make certain bits bulge, because watching it again, like the way that it did it, it wasn't bad. It worked actually, but I'm like, that's not actually part of the suit. That's an after effect. It still did kind of work, but excuse me. Do you prefer scrambled eggs or eggs sunny side up? Scrambled, usually. Do you ever wish we found out about this after she died? Tolkien believed screwed up stuff, but we don't care because he died 60 years ago. I mean, I don't know how to engage with that question, because if she could truly keep a lid on it until she passed away, presumably of natural causes, so like in, I don't know, 40, 50 years or whatever, that would also mean in theory that she was never actively campaigning for these things. She was never writing essays about it. And if that was the case, yeah, it would be different. Because while I don't think it's good for anyone to hold those kinds of thoughts or feelings like in their heart, I care less if you're not acting on it. I wish you didn't. Like, I have family who I know think some things that I really wish they didn't. But none of them go out and like join protests and campaign on behalf of these things that they think. And while it doesn't make it completely okay, like it does lessen the blow. So, for whatever that's worth, I suppose. I missed a whole bunch of chat bits where I was tagged, so I apologize for that. Supreme Omega, how come Marvel never did Legacy Heroes until recently with Miles and Kamala in the 2010s? Is it because their shared universe is much younger than DC? Well, their universe is less complicated. And Marvel also never really went in for the sidekicks, which is the other major source of legacy characters. So I think those were the two main reasons that it happened a lot more at DC than at Marvel. My thing with Rowling is that she purposely took the comfort and relatability that the trans community found within the series away, and it was 100% malicious. This is not me trying to give credit to J.K. Rowling for anything. I've actually got a timer set for the Discord reminder, Gozer. Thank you, though. But what I will say is I don't think it was ever part of a plan to deliberately remove a sense of community from trans people. I think she just didn't care. I think she wanted to say what she believed and didn't care. I don't think it was malice in that sense. But that is the practical outcome of what happened. And it's very frustrating about just now I've lost the thought. Sorry. I'm not high energy today, so this is where we're at. But anyways, Meg! Hey, Meg, I'm glad you made it. Who's our moderator? We've got Gozer handling moderation today. Carowin's not feeling well, so. But we've got Gozer on that. Question, have you considered doing more reactions to stuff other than trailers, because There's a video series I like called What Happened by Matt McMuscle that goes over game development. I actually watch What Happened. I don't watch a lot of his other stuff because I actually don't like a lot of his other stuff. But I do like What Happened. I'm not in the market right now for adding any new styles of content just because I'm backed up on trying to get work done just with the stuff that I've got. The thing about Matt McMuscles and actually most YouTubers of his size is that they pay people to do their editing. So, you know, he does the research, he does the scripting, he records the voice work, but somebody else edits, and edit is the time sink. And I can't afford to hire an editor. So, have you ever seen Little Witch Academia? Nope, never heard of it. If Doctor Who was ever to do a crossover with another franchise, what do you think would work or be interesting? Again, I'm not a good person to ask that. I don't find crossovers that interesting 99 times out of 100. So, am I going to do a Sonic 2 review? Maybe eventually once it's on streaming. I'm not in any rush. What is your most uncharacteristic show you enjoy? A show that people wouldn't expect you to enjoy? I don't know, maybe Schitt's Creek. Given that I don't like sitcoms very much. That might not be the most uncharacteristic, but it's what's leaping to mind. Appreciate your live stream tonight. Always love listening to you. Really enjoy your podcast. Stay awesome, Vera. Way Hot Dog from Toronto. Oh, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Today's your 48th birthday. Well, happy birthday, Knit and Crochet Tiger. Thoughts on Hunter and the Owl House? I haven't seen the latest episodes of Owl House. I've only seen what's out on Disney Plus, so none at present. Did I watch Dawson's Creek growing up? No, I didn't. Doctor Who plus Farscape. I mean, like, there's fun, I'm sure, but crossovers just if they weren't originally intended, you know, to exist in the same universe, just crossovers, they're not really my jam. Ever heard of Money Heist? Might be your bag. Give me your love of Heist. I feel like that name sounds familiar. But I'm drawing a blank. It only occurred to me the other day the circumstances of Rimmer's dalliance with Yvonne Magruder is very problematic. Oh, yeah. Like Red Dwarf, for a comedy series, a lot of Red Dwarf stuff has aged pretty well. The Yvonne Magruder stuff, which is referenced in early series of Red Dwarf, that oh dear, that didn't age well at all. Is it Owl House a Disney Plus thing in the first place? Or at least I thought second season was exclusive to Disney Plus. No, it airs on the Disney Channel, then shows up on Disney Plus later. Sorry, hang on. I was trying to do this, like, surreptitiously, but then, there we go. You're not properly relaxing until you take off your belt. All right, why am I getting messages? Sorry, hang on. All right, I'll deal with that later. Am I worried about Disney canning the Owl House special because of what Dana Tarrant said? They won't. They know how bad it'll look. That's the thing. Disney is very image conscious right now, and they are walking on eggshells, and they know it. They won't do that. They will go through with what was planned. Are there any movies or TV shows that you think have not aged well? Yeah, most of them. I mean, most entertainment doesn't age well. Belt isn't that the bra line? I very rarely wear bras. So everyone keeps asking me about Our Flag Means Death. I've only seen the first episode. It didn't grab me, and I have not had the time to watch more. Like, I don't know if you people appreciate how buried in work I am all the time. Like, all the time. All the time. Money Heist basic pitch. A group of robbers take over the mint in Spain and force hostages to print them money. It's also Spanish. Interesting. Thorn. She caught the rusty smidge. The what? Oh, whoever catches the rusty smidge automatically wins the game. But that's stupid. That invalidates all our hard work. Magic sports are dumb. Yeah, but they're all like this. I never realized how problematic the ending of Idiot's Lantern was until I watched your video, and that episode was filmed on my old street. Yeah, like it. That episode, man, that is, yeah. I don't have HBO Max, so I can't watch Our Flag Means Death. I do have it, but, like, time. Angus, thank you very much. You have reviewed Kinda, and I think have Resurrection of the Dogs, but not Snake Dance, as 3 key Tegan stories. Thoughts on a review ahead of return, or does it need a commission? I can try and get it in before the next special comes out. I'll try and do one featuring Tegan and one featuring Ace before the next special. Centenary is a word that just slides off my brain. I just keep forgetting what it is and how to say it. Love getting on late and seeing an Owl House reference first thing. Hoot! Hoot House, hooty hooting. I do love Hootie. Hello? Is there anyone there? I'm on the floor. It's cold. Oh, that voice. That horrible, horrible voice. Idiot's Lantern. Does fiction need to stop telling us we need to make up with our ship parents? Fiction needs to stop framing the idea of forgiveness of family as an obligation or an inherent nobility. I would never say that any one specific person is beyond forgiveness or beyond ever getting better. But that is something that the people in their life will make the determination of what does or doesn't qualify as being enough for them to let that person back in their life. What I cannot stand is the general blanket notion of, well, you have to give them another chance. They're your father, your mother, your brother, sister, kid, even. If somebody is truly that damaging and truly that toxic, no, you're not obligated. And like I say this as someone who has had connections and people within my family or families to people who matter to me. I've seen people get to the point where they have to just walk away and stay that way. And the times that I've seen it, they were right to do so. And anyone who's ever going to be like, well, you should have given them another chance because it's your whatever the relation is. No, screw you. And so anything that presents it as an uncomplicated, unnuanced thing can go to hell. Okay, Meg. Yeah, no, if you need to get some rest, that's fine. Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. I have been reviewing Moon Knight, Zeldaheim, but that's been on the Break Room of Geeks, which is the subsidiary channel. That's actually where most of my review material that isn't Doctor Who goes. Oh, that is my alert to check the Discord. Back in a minute. Reminder that the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk. So if you go to patreon.com/Council of Geek and support at the $2 level or higher, gets you access to the Discord, which includes a channel specifically for asking me questions that will be addressed on the live streams. And it's the only other way to guarantee it other than doing super chats. So let's see what we got. I meant to tell you this when I commissioned that Culture book review, but I forgot. A few months ago, I found out why the Culture is called. Okay, so this is in regards to the book series by Ian M. Banks. It's a reference to a play from Nazi Germany where soldier characters said, when I hear culture, I reach for my gun. Culture, this context meaning philosophy, literature, art, etc., basically thinking about stuff. Basically, Banks called it the culture because he meant it to be the embodiment of everything fascists would hate. Does that change how you feel about the series at all? It doesn't change anything, any of my thoughts on my opinions of what I've read. It does give me a, frankly, higher opinion of Banks and the headspace with which he approached his concept. Because, honestly, anybody who's going to approach a creative project from the perspective of what could I do that would most piss off a Nazi, you have my support. That is a solid way to approach anything that you care to write. So can I ask, regarding Babylon 5, for people not on the pod, what are your initial feelings of the series? Okay. For anyone who's not listening to the Council of Geeks podcast feed and is not therefore listening to the Jumpgate podcast that I do with Jesse Gender going through Babylon 5, which I have not watched before, my thoughts so far, I like and enjoy the politics and philosophical aspects. While I understand it was pretty good for the time, that time being 1993, 1994, for how far into the series I am so far. The effects are often wonky. Some of the specific character beats are outdated or haven't aged well. Garibaldi's ticking me off semi-regularly at this point. But I can see all the seeds of stuff that, like, I definitely want to see more of that. And from what I understand of the show, it's what it largely focuses on. And that is the politics, the philosophical impasses, and those kinds of ideas. So overall, I'm enjoying it. I'm not in love with it, but it's also early days, so we'll see. And with that, I return to the chat. Thank you so much. We got more super chats. John Vinyl's full song for Hootie in the stage musical version of The Owl House. Hootie hoot hoot. Hoot hoot. Can't think of a good Hootie quote all of a sudden. To find the answer you must seek. Solve my riddle within a week. Pfft. Ow! Okay. We went into the forest. Jeez. Ow! Another one from John Vinyls. Thank you so much. Is Steven Universe better than Idiot's Lantern, by the way? If so, how? That's see, I never felt like Steven Universe was ever making the case you have to forgive them because they're family. It was coming at it from the opposite angle because he had a very idealized version of his mother in his head, which wasn't his fault. That's what was fed to him by the gems and by his father. So, when he learned that she wasn't all that, it was less about you have to forgive your parents the awful thing because they're your parents, and it was more about your parents aren't perfect and may have done stuff that makes you deeply uncomfortable. How will you handle that? How will you adjust for that? So I'm not sure the comparison is warranted, at least not in my mind, and not how I see them presented, if that makes sense. Kara, thank you very much. Hey, Vera, last essay finished tonight, so I can stay kind of late tonight. Did you rage much at anything on Doctor Who Sunday? There wasn't anything worth raging about. It was okay. Like, I had fun. I liked the vibe. It was clunky. Didn't really work, but question, have you considered doing a cosplay of the character Rugal Burenstein from King of Fighters, because I think you could rock it? I am not familiar with that character, so I'm going to say that no, I've not considered it. Excuse me. Babylon 5, great moments and plots, long hours and scripts, but it is definitely more than the sum of its parts. Interested in the reboot. I think that got shelved, last I heard. What's my favorite feature film from A24? I don't know how many of A24's films I've actually seen. I want to see Men. I've seen the trailer for that, but I like Alex Garland. So I gotta see I need to get a list of their releases. I have to check that. A24. Filmography. List of A24 films. How many of these have I seen? Nope. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I've seen Under the Skin. Oh, that movie's unsettling. Holy crap. So that's one. Nope. Ex Machina. Oh, so they've been working with Alex Garland. Okay, cool. Ex Machina, that one was very good. So there's two. Room was them. Oh, that one was good also. Yeah, okay, this is pretty solid. Green Room was okay. I feel like that one's overpraised a bit. And even the ones that I haven't seen, the ones that I'm recognizing, I'm like, that did look interesting. Just checking, see what else we got. Nope, haven't seen it. Nope, wanted to see it. Haven't seen it. Nope. I've not seen a lot of the films from this studio. Nope. So I think might have only seen the two. Hold on, I'm into the 2020s. I wanted to see that, but I missed it. I gotta find out if that's streaming anywhere yet. Nope, haven't seen it. Nope, haven't seen it. I've seen very few A24 movies. I should see more. A lot of them did look really interesting. Everything Everywhere All at Once is bonkers. I love it so much. I want to see that, but it's not playing anywhere near me. Did anyone else like The Artist? I love that movie. I never saw that one. Fun fact about the wolf spider, he has organic webbing like Toby, but he also has organic spider legs coming out of his back like Iron Spider. Finally, he's interdimensional threat. Huh. See, when I think of a multi-limbed Spider-Man, I immediately think of Doppelganger, who I kind of prefer. See, Under the Skin, I think Under the Skin, it didn't go off the rails, but it lost some of its power in the third act. But I'll tell you, man, that movie unsettled me. then there's one very specific scene in that movie that deeply, deeply unsettled me. Like, I kind of felt empty for the rest of the day. Yeah. What do you think of fans defending bad creative decisions in media with in-universe reasons as to why? Like, I know people who justify Bane's voice, he had his lips and nose ripped off. Like, yeah, I hate that. If something, if I or anybody ever says, this doesn't work and I don't enjoy it, or this rubbed me the wrong way, or gives an opinion, you can't counteract that with an in-universe explanation. Like, me saying Bane's voice is stupid and laughable and it makes it so I can't take the character seriously, defending it with well, the reason he sounds like that is because of that. It doesn't matter why. The end result is still the same. In-universe justifications don't fix this. First room in the TARDIS you'd want to see apart from the console room. I want to see the swimming pool. I bet it's weird. Oh, hint at the scene. The scene in in Under the Skin that really shook me was the beach scene. If you've seen the movie, you should know what I'm talking about. But that, oh man, yeah. Speaking of Spider-Man villains, bring Man Spider into the MCU, you cowards. Well, like, the MCU, it's a weird legal thing because Sony has the movie rights to Spider-Man, and they're only really sharing that character himself with the greater MCU, and the rest of it's just under Sony, so it's weird. Have you seen they cast Percy Jackson for Disney Plus series? I think I'd seen that it happened. Like, I'm not following that at all. I never read those books, so I don't mean to sound dismissive, but I don't care. Want to give your general take, RE, enjoying art versus supporting the artist? If not, it's fine. It's been a long week. I don't have a short version of that. I've done lengthy videos already. Short version, you can't separate the artist from the art. And just in a plain factual sense, good art, bad art, it is disrespectful to the art, to the artists, and it is disrespectful to art in general to pretend that art exists in a vacuum and is not the result of the decisions made by a human being with specific thoughts and feelings and beliefs. That's what art is. It is an extension and expression of the artist. Now, that said, I'm also a death of the author person. So if you have an interpretation of a piece of art that doesn't match with what the artist intended, screw them. They don't get to say how you experience their art. That having been said, my thing with partaking in the work of problematic artists, my main thing is don't financially or influence level give open support to people who are either actively causing harm or are unrepentant about the harm that they have caused. So when somebody's already dead, like Lovecraft, it was a racist piece of garbage. I think it is important to know that about him insofar as understanding how that impacted some of his work. But you don't have to disengage with it because he can't hurt anybody anymore. But with somebody like Rowling or Roman Polanski or Woody Allen or Kevin Spacey, they're still around. They either still are, or they could cause active harm, or they are absolutely unrepentant about the harm that they've caused. And sometimes there's just an ick factor. Sometimes what you know about an artist just makes you go, ugh, regardless of, anything else. I assume you saw Todd in the Shadows review of Aaron Lewis's Am I the Only One and shook your head at the very idea of a guy from Vermont bitching about Confederate statue removals. I am a fan of Todd in the Shadows. I did see that. And yes, I don't love the fact that Aaron Lewis is from Vermont. I don't love that at all. In fact, if he dislikes it so much and he wants to pretend like he's a country singer, move to the South, you jackass. Maybe he does live down there now. I don't know. Screw that guy. Do you think the MCU will come apart at any point in the next few years, or will it just keep going from strength to strength? I think there's a third option. I think the MCU will gradually decline. It will gradually see diminishing returns. It's too well established with too many aspects and elements to just suddenly collapse out of nowhere. Like, even if an MCU movie bombed, like right now probably their biggest flop is Eternals, but everyone's just moving on. But even if, like, let's just say for the sake of argument, Thor 4, Love and Thunder, bombs at the box office. It's a huge loss. That is not automatically going to destabilize the entire MCU. There's all this other stuff going on, and a lot of it, while it shares a universe, is fairly independent of each other. So that doesn't necessarily mean go from strength to strength. I think eventually people will just start to tire of it. And I actually think that ultimately what will happen is it will largely become the domain of Disney+. I think there will always be enough interest in the MCU to have it be worth doing things like Disney Plus series, but it may eventually not be worth producing as many big scale movies as they do. But that's an eventuality. A24 is Heredity and The Witch, right? Yep, that's them. Have you caught up on Keep on the Age of Wonder Beast yet? Nope. Only finished season 1. I'm waiting for the kiddo to come back so we can keep going. And I am going to be wrapping it up here soon. Supreme Omega, thank you so much. How come comic MJ is hard to adapt faithfully to other media? The concept is simple. Characteristic party girl who hides her pain with a sense of humor. I don't think it's that she's difficult to adapt faithfully. I think there's a fear of baggage that comes with the tropes that she kind of embodies. And that's not to say there's no way to do it well. I think you absolutely could. But I think there's a lot of pitfalls with trying to do the party girl, as your romantic lead. It's not impossible, but I think what we've run into is that it's not uncommon for adapters to just go, well, why don't we just do something completely different? Why don't we just do that instead, rather than try and figure out how to make this work in a way that doesn't make us look like misogynistic jackasses. Angie Dudis, thank you very much for the rainbow. That was wonderful. Thank you. I'm from Liverpool. I was wondering if you learned anything about Liverpool or were confused about anything from Liverpool based on what was shown in Doctor Who. I know that's where the Beatles are from. I don't know a ton about Liverpool, and I can't say that something like Flux left me with a ton of questions about Liverpool any more than anywhere else that I don't really know in the UK. I'm sure it's a lovely place. But I think I'm going to wrap it up. So, about some of the original Dudley Moore Arthur films. Never saw them. But yes, if you could, hit the like. That would be appreciated. I hope everybody has a good day. Good rest of the day. Good rest of the week. I got to finish editing Saturday's video. Get that up for early access for the Patreon supporters. And just maybe think about relaxing. I won't do it, but I'll think about it. So, Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. And please remember that you are beautiful. You are valid. And you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!